Good morning. I'm Nate Rowland. I'll be your host today. If you're wondering why I'm here, I'm a customer of Thrive's. They've asked me to have a great conversation with you guys this morning, and I do want to emphasize conversation. Webinars are fantastically boring a lot of times, so I want you guys to interact. I've been loving seeing all the stuff in the chat so far. So if you haven't let us know where you're joining from, please do that. You can just type your location in the chat. We've seen a few different places in the UK, Nottingham, I know Cornwall, North Wales. I've seen places in the US, Baltimore. Shout out to the Thrive people in Boston. We got Saskatchewan up in Canada, Amsterdam, Denmark, Leeds, let's see, Colorado, Utah. I did see St. Louis. I'm located just outside of St. Louis in the Illinois suburb, Brussels, Belgium. I actually got married in Brussels. Fun fact, Sandra, for you. Several places in the UK. We got Texas, Minnesota. All right, we got people from all over. Milton Keynes, yep. Sheffield, sweet, awesome. I am thrilled to be able to spend some time with you guys this morning. Looks like we have a great group here. And hopefully you joined because you're interested in what we have up on the screen, changing learning cultures, how to take back the L&D goosebumps. So for those of you who are kind of rolling in right now, my name is Nate Rowland. I'm the training and development manager for Scott Credit Union. And just a little bit of information, Scott Credit Union, we're kind of a mid-size credit union. We're growing. I joined in February of 2020. So I worked in an office for about a month before things went upside down. And I've been working from home pretty much ever since. So I know a lot of you are in similar positions where the world has gone topsy-turvy, and you've had to cope, you've had to come up with ideas, you've had to help lead initiatives, and none of us were absolutely, none of us were prepared for it. So coming off the back of sort of 18 to 20 months of just insane creative possibilities, lots of opportunities to come up with solutions to help the business solve problems. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a customer of Thrive. We launched them. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But that's why I'm here. And I hope that you're here because you want to learn, you want to enjoy, you want to interact. So there's a couple of tools that we have. We have the Q&A function. So if you have like a burning question, you're wanting to know more about something, you want details, you can use the Q&A function. We'll try to catch up with that stuff at the very end. Also, we have the chat. Interact. If you like something, if you hate something, if you want to shout out to somebody else, use the chat function, please. Be interactive. We're going to be asking you some questions. I would love to see your responses. So when we pause and ask a question, take the time, use your keyboard, hit us up, let us know what you actually think, what your honest opinions are. So, all right. First question, first opportunity for you to interact. Here it is. Why are you in learning and development? So why are you in L&D? So I'll give you just a couple minutes here, a minute or two, to start typing in some answers. Why are you in learning and development? All right, provide support. All right, there we go. Stuff is coming in. All right, I like helping other people grow into their best selves. Used to be a K through 12 teacher. Awesome. It's a lot of people who come from the education, so from from elementary, high school, middle school education, and end up in L&D. Helen Marshall, you fell into it. Yep, same here. Absolutely fell into it. I was in operations management. Tell people to do their jobs better, develop people. Yep. Experience. Yep. Yeah, I didn't like, so I'm kind of scrolling back up, realize you didn't like working with kids, so moved to corporate L&D instead. Yeah. I've had a couple of employees, both with me now and with previous teams I led in the same exact position. Ben seemed like a good idea at the time. All right. You love the buzz from seeing other people grow and develop. Man, provide support, light bulb moments. Yeah, great. Thank you guys. Thanks so much for all of this input. The fun side of HR. That's right, man. We're not the cops, right? I say that, and if any of my HR friends are on, they'll be beating me up later on. But yeah, the fun side of HR. Frustrated with ops getting it all wrong. To inspire others and drive passions. Yeah, fell into it. Yeah, if you fell into L&D, I think there's now starting to develop some more pathways, like formal pathways, but I think a lot of us just randomly ended up into it. I'm very thankful that I did. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. As you can see, I get very excited talking about it, but absolutely was not something on my radar when I was in university studying and trying to make grand plans for the future of Nate Rowland. So yeah, all right. So why are you in L&D? There's a lot of reasons that we get in L&D. Now I want you to hold on to those thoughts, all right? So I'm not just asking the question and brushing over it, but I want you to hold on to those thoughts because we want to talk a little bit about culture change. And I'm already starting to see a little bit of it in the answers that you're giving. You like the light bulb moments. You want to see people grow, right? You want to see people develop. You want to see your operations team get it right for the first time. All of that is tied to this topic of culture change. So let's dive into it just a little bit. When we look at how culture is defined or what we're talking about when we use that word culture, it's the collective customs and achievements of people. So culture is a word that gets thrown around a lot, a ton. So when we use the word culture, we'd be talking about many, many different things. So for the sake of this argument or the sake of today's time that we have, this is what we're talking about: collective customs and achievements of people. So that people part can be any group of people. It can be a small group of people like your department. So your L&D department or your HR department. It could be your entire organization. It could be your country. It could be, I saw someone from Cornwall, if you have Cornish culture, right? I know that's a very specific thing, right? That's a culture in and of itself, separate from the rest, right? So we have these little ideas of culture, but what does it actually mean to do culture change? What's really interesting is that this idea of culture, the word culture itself, we get it from sort of Middle English, and it actually is tied to agriculture. It's the act of preparing the earth for crops. So when you start really thinking about that, it's work. You're doing work. Culture is work. The collective customs and achievements of people. To achieve something takes work. To develop customs takes work. So anytime that we're talking about culture, specifically when we're talking about culture change, please know there is work involved. And I know that you guys know that, but I want to really frame it for you in this way of that culture change and culture doesn't happen on its own. Now, it does, but not the kind that you want. If we are not intentional about things and we just let things go, culture will definitely develop. But it's usually not the kind of culture that we want. It's usually not the kind of culture that's productive or beneficial. And so we need to be careful. We need to be intentional. We need to be thoughtful about that. So my next question, and this is, I want you to dive right into the chat here, is who drives your culture? So let's think specifically about your business, the business that you work in, the business that you're in every day. Who drives your culture? Yes, and Craig, yeah, natural cultures can be positive too. I'm thinking specifically within work environments. A lot of times, if we are not intentional, things develop that we may not want to. But yes, there can be natural cultures. So you can step into a business. For example, I joined a great business almost 2 years ago, and a very organic, good culture has been there. But as we continue to grow, if we're not guardians of that, if we don't protect it, it will definitely change. It may not change organically or naturally in ways that we want it to. So that's a good point. So we got stakeholders, managers, management, everyone, our managers, colleagues, organizational strategy and industry. Let's see, partners, leadership, who the staff are. So people are leaders, key voices in the business, prominent players. I don't think it always has to be the senior people. I agree. Leaders, top down, historical, how departments have been run, organization. Yep. So there's no wrong answers here. and I hate to say that, but your experience is definitely going to be, your experience, and what happens in your organization might be very different than what happens in mine. So some businesses that you might be in might have very intentional, well thought out culture that is driven from the top down. Other businesses don't have that structure, and so it's a bottom up approach. The way that the people are, right, that dictates how the culture for the entire business goes. There's others where there's key influencers spread all throughout, and that's what we're seeing in some of your messages, that we have people that are all spread out that are influencing culture as we move along. There's a historical side. How has business been done, right? That's a great question. In fact, it's one of the first questions I ask if I'm moving to a new business is like, what's the story? What's the history here? What's the context? What's happened before I came here? It's that idea that we all stand on the shoulder of giants, right? Nothing that we're doing today is brand new. It's built on stuff that's already happened. So what's that story? How have things been done? All right, great answers. To change that though, right, if we're looking at culture change, so we understand a little bit more about your business and your culture, right? What does it take then to change that? So if we're looking at how can I change the culture? How can I be a part of that? How can I change just my department or kind of the greater department? So if you're like me, I run our L&D, but I'm part of the greater HR, right? So how can I change L&D? I think I have a lot of control over that. How can I change HR? I don't have as much. I have some influence, but I don't have as much. How do I change the business? Right? It gets even a little bit harder. I can be a key influencer, but it's going to take a lot more work. So we look at this idea of change. There are reasons, though, that people are very resistant to it. So culture and trying to change culture is not something that people love. You start throwing out the word change and people start to freak out. And here are a few reasons why. People feel a loss of control. People feel this excess uncertainty. Well, we've always done things like this, right? This is historically how we've done things. Why are we going to do things differently now? That's a big question. We're at Scott Credit Union, we're going through changes right now. We're growing both from a kind of footprint size, also just in terms of business maturity. And as your business matures, as you do things different, as you institute new processes, right? People feel uncertain because we've got here already and things were good. So yeah, people tend to freak out. Surprises. Interesting enough, people say they love surprises. No one really loves surprises. It triggers a lot of alarms for us. Everything seems different. So if you're changing the culture, things are going to be different. And that can even mean if you're formalizing culture that already exists. So maybe you're not changing it as much as you're formalizing it. It does start to make the culture feel different. Loss of face. What this means is that if I change the culture and admit right now that we need to change the culture, does that mean that what I was doing before was wrong? And does that make me, a bad person? Or does that make me wrong and I have to admit that I was wrong for doing things how I did in the past? So a lot of times people are nervous about change because that change may indicate that they weren't doing it right to start with. Concerns about competence. I don't know how many of you have people that are legacy employees, people that have a lot of tenure that have been there, great contributors, but as soon as you start talking about change, they might start freaking out because that feeling about them losing competence, maybe even relevance within the business. Lisa over the chat says, change can feel forced and people get frustrated. Absolutely. When you're in the middle of making change happen, if you don't have full buy-in, and full buy-in is hard to get, it can feel forced, and people will get frustrated. More work. You start changing things, you start making modifications, you start adding new processes, or you start adding just a different way of doing things. There's more work. Absolutely. Doing things the right way. I have a 7-year-old, and I say this all the time. Doing things the right way takes more work, but that work is the good work. It's the work that you should be doing. So more work is absolutely a true thing, but do any of us really want to take on more work right now? I will put my hand down. I don't want to, but I know sometimes it is the right kind of work that we should be doing. Ripple effects or knock-on effects, right? People freak out. If I change this, then this is going to change, and then this is going to change, and then what happens after that? Past resentments. What if many of you, including myself, have gone through that really forced change and it wasn't good? It was bad. Maybe you had a new ownership come into a business, and all of a sudden they're interested in changing the culture, and they talk all this hype about it being awesome, and how amazing it's going to be, and it sucked. We've all been there. And so we hear about change now, we're going to have that same association. And honestly, it's because sometimes the threat is real. Sometimes when change happens, people end up losing their job or opting to find employment elsewhere because they may not fit in with the culture anymore. They may not be relevant or competent anymore. And so there are real reasons that people fear change. And I'm not saying that we can address every single aspect of it, but in L&D, we can help. In learning and development, we can absolutely help, especially with that last piece that I mentioned about people feeling competent and relevant. We can provide that kind of those kind of resources to help people, and that should always be a part of the plan. Can we bring everybody along with us? If I would say we should aim for as many as possible. Leaders try to rush people through change or through the change curve, and they all have to go down their own pace. Yeah, you know, interesting. There's a lot of history that you could study. I'm a history nerd. You look at some of the stuff that happened in Russia post the revolution. Stalin was trying to rapidly change Russia, and he tried to do like 300 to 400 years worth of industrial evolution in a really short time period. And it was super painful. People died, they lost their farms, people were miserable. That's forced change in a condensed time frame. I am not an advocate of that. Change does take time, and we have to be patient with it. So very good points. People like change, they just don't like being changed. Very, very good. The reason that we have these emotions and these feelings, it's to this graphic that we have right now. It's fight or flight. Change, we are change kind of adverse beings, meaning that when change happens, it triggers off warning bells up in our heads, right? It's stuff that we don't control. Our bodies, we are hardwired for this. So when change is occurring, it triggers off those bells, and we have kind of one or two ways that we respond as humans. We either fight it or we try to run away from it. That is the natural reaction that people have with change. So fight or flight. The good thing is that we can identify what we tend to do. So I'll be really transparent. I tend to be a fighter. So when things get scary, or when I have a moment where I feel afraid, the dukes come out, right? I'm ready to start swinging. Some of you might be change adverse, or if it's something that you're afraid of, or it has fear, scared. That's not even a word. If you get scared, you might want to be like, I'm out the door, right? So when change happens, just know that's how people are feeling. It doesn't mean that's how they're always reacting, but some of that frustration, some of the things that people might be vocalizing, some of the behavior that you might see that's less than desirable might be stemming from fight or flight. I like that you also have, and I don't know your name because it just says learning and development, but you actually added in there freeze, right? That moment when you're like deer in the headlights, or the kind of stuck in a moment of inaction. So very good. Yeah. So then how do we get back goosebumps, right? How do we feel good about any of this? If you're like me, and I hear the stories, I read it when I'm in other people's meetings like this, at conferences. So I don't feel like I'm out on my own when I'm saying this, but a lot of people don't feel great about what they're doing. They like the idea of learning and development. They like why they joined originally, but they've lost just some of the way they feel about what they do. Maybe you're feeling like what you do now on a day-to-day basis isn't aligned to what you want to be doing. Maybe you feel that the efforts and the work that you do get sidelined by dumb requests. I've been there. You go to a meeting, you have tons of great ideas, and the end result of the work that you get kind of sent out to go do is stupid. And I'm being harsh just because I'm with a group of people in L&D. So I feel like this is a cone of safety here where we can say these things. Sometimes you get marching orders and those marching orders are dumb. You still have to execute them, right? We're still here to support the business. That's why you get a paycheck, but you're not feeling great about what those orders are. Yeah, you're not in that boat all by yourself, and never feel that way. Reach out to your peers, make some connections. I think it's Linnell. Make some connections. Hit me up. Believe me, you are never alone. You're not doing this by yourself. There are other people who feel the same way. It could be that you go to meetings and just you feel like every time you're sitting with subject matter experts, it's a fight. It's like, and so you're sick of these meetings, or you don't have the support, so you're not getting the budget support to make the cool stuff that you want to make. Maybe you know that you could do some cool stuff using articulate storyline, but no one's going to give you the budget or the money to buy articulate storyline. Or the Adobe Creative Cloud or whatever. So you're like, how do I make cool stuff when they won't actually fund me to do cool stuff, but they want cool stuff? Or maybe you're in a business that thinks it has to be serious all the time. I don't know who decided that when we become adults that anything that is fun or entertaining is not going to make people money or somehow counterproductive to people learning, getting better, growing, the business happening. But if we can't make what we spend a big chunk of our day every single day, at least 5 days a week, if we can't make a little bit of that fun and enjoyable, holy crap, let's be looking for another job, right? That's literally why we're in the situation we're in right now with the big quit or the great resignation. People are fed up. Wanting cool stuff but not funding cool stuff is every day. Hey, that you're not alone. And so, hey, how do we change that? How do we get back the goosebumps? How do we get back the feels? How do we make this a good experience so you're not at work every day dreading it? And I'm not encouraging you guys to quit. So where you're at today, how can you make that better? How can you make the most of it? I'm not saying how can you instantly get tons of funding. I'm not saying how can you instantly change everybody's hearts and minds and make them in a very zen place that every idea you promote is awesome. But how can we get there? How can we start to move that business forward? Our department, so our sub department, our greater department, the larger business, those people we interact with. So how do we take back the goosebumps and feel like our meme right here? Oh my God, that's the real goal. So in the animal kingdom, a threatened animal has a similar reaction to goosebumps, causing their fur to be puffed out a bit. So you've seen this if you watch any nature documentaries, if you've seen a porcupine and all of a sudden the spikes come up. If you saw Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, and you see the dinosaur and the things come out of the neck and it spits stuff at you, same thing as goosebumps, right? This makes animal appear bigger and more dangerous. So goosebumps are hooked up to the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system has input from many parts of the brain, including those involved with motivation, arousal, and emotion. Now, I know that you're not sitting in a lot of business meetings and hearing the word arousal. So fair enough. If you're very uncomfortable with me saying the word arousal, let me say it one more time. I'll just get it out there. Arousal. Motivation, arousal, and emotion. Those are real things. We feel those. You put an amazing song on, you might be feeling emotion. You might be feeling arousal of some kind. And arousal doesn't always have to be sexualized. You could just be feeling stirred up inside, like, yeah, like, you put on the song More Than a Feeling. I know that's a throwback, but you put that song on, yes, passionate. Thank you for saving me, Linnell. You could be feeling it, right? You put on, my mind's going blank. There's songs that you have great associations with. If you've played sports in the past, maybe there's a song that you got super psyched to, and every time it comes on, you get that feeling, right? Whatever that is, that's real stuff. Your brain is saying, yeah, and it's kicking it up a notch. You feel motivated, you feel excited, you feel passionate. Thank you for that substitute word. You get the emotional connection to that. That's what goosebumps are. That's what we're talking about. How can we bring that sort of thing to our day-to-day life? What does that take? Well, let's pause here and let me just ask you this question. Before we get to making it happen, why don't we feel excited right now? Now, I already have a clue because a few of you already kind of let that go in the chat, but let's hear some more answers. We're British. Hey, British people can get excited. I've seen punk from the UK. I've seen your house music. You guys rave it up over there. So I know you guys can get excited. So why don't you feel excited right now? I've been to sporting events in the UK. You guys can get excited. It's not all stiff upper lips and tea. So hit me up in the chat. I'll give you a second. Why don't we feel excited? Or maybe why don't you feel excited? Tea can be exciting. Yeah, it can be. Starved of external stimulus. Yeah. Dude, we have sat in our own houses for a long time. That's true. Omicron is a party pooper. Holy crap, man. I was just talking to somebody, to Nicole from Thrive, and that was it. Like, isn't this over? It is definitely a party pooper. Yeah, you lose belief. Nothing wrong with our tea. I was not criticizing tea. I am married to a British person. There was a lot of tea consumed in my house. Tired of being constantly blocked by leadership. Yeah. Constantly getting blocked. Yeah, that sucks. I think about, I coach my son's basketball team. Again, he's 7, so it's first graders. But they're playing this mixed first grade, second grade. There's a big height difference if you get a team of almost all second graders. We played this game a week ago, and it was nothing but shot blocks. You want to see a group of kids feel discouraged? That is what discouragement looks like. And many of you feel like that because you go to like put that nice shot up, and there's a kid way over you just knocking it out of your hand. Always on to the next project. Yep. Getting crunched into short time frames. Man, we get crunched in short time frames all the time. All right, Gainer, we will see you. Get the recording. Hit me up on LinkedIn. If you have questions, we'll definitely talk. Told to do things quicker. Yep. Lack of buy-in, short-sightedness. Yeah. Lack of sufficient dopamine, serotonin, etc. Yeah, you get how the brain works. That's right. How do we trigger dopamine though? What will give us back those feels, right? Reward, recognition. That's why everybody wants to give you a pizza party and all that stuff. No time to do review and reiterate. Yeah, so we get it done. It's just on to the next thing. On to the next one. Yeah, like the Foo Fighters. Yeah, without having time to actually redo it, make it right, do the after, the post work. How many of you, I think, want to be measuring your stuff, right? Using Kirkpatrick's levels of evaluation or whatever, and trying to prove your actual worth, right? Do the smile sheets, but like, can we measure effectiveness? Can we measure change? Can we go on and actually prove ROI? If you're not given the time to do that and it's just on to the next project, then you're always in that state of not being able to validate or justify some of the creative stuff that you want to do. Can we measure impact? Yeah, awesome, good. So those are all valid reasons why we might not feel excited. And thank you guys so much for sharing. I appreciate anytime that you guys share, it is a bit of vulnerability. You're putting that out to a group of people. So thank you guys for typing that in. Continue to use the chat. So here are a few reasons. Why don't we feel excited? Business teams utilize their own makeshift learning over L&D programs. So this was done, these answers, these three that I'm sharing with you are done from a industry-wide, global industry-wide survey of people in L&D. And these were the top three reasons. So business teams use their own makeshift learning over L&D programs. There's nothing more frustrated than you trying to help somebody out and they're like, nah, we're good. I got this. I got a binder that we use. You want to make my freaking face turn red, and I got a lot of face. It continues all across my head. You want to see this big noggin turn bright red? Mention the word binder to me. We have a binder. We're good. That will instantly shut down any sort of dopamine production. L&D teams are overwhelmed and under-equipped. I'm hearing that from you guys directly. We get tons of requests, short time frames. I don't either have the budget or I don't have the staff. Learning doesn't align with big picture business needs. I think you guys are probably very similar to me. There's a lot of business savviness in L&D. I think you end up in L&D because you do see the big picture. And that's a lot of times why we gravitate towards doing this. We want to help. We want to make things better. And so if what we're doing day to day doesn't align to that big picture that we can see, it's going to feel frustrating. It's going to demotivate us. Yeah, Jennifer Parker, great comment there. We learn about those programs inadvertently. Yes, we do. It's always casual. It's always in a random meeting and you're like, oh, by the way, yeah. So all of those things are going to sideline your motivation. They're going to make you feel like crap. And that's the opposite of what we're talking about today. We want to bring back the good feelings. We want to feel energized. We want to be pumped up. And I say this because I'm the same way. I want to feel energized. I want to feel pumped up. I want to feel excited. I want my projects to be aligned with the business needs. I don't want to feel overwhelmed and I don't want to feel under-equipped. And I don't want to have people just going off on their own without even coming to me and asking me for help in my professional opinion. So how do I do anything about that? You're not sure if you feel better or worse for hearing the same problems happen in other companies. Yeah, fair enough. I will say I've worked in L&D in multiple companies. It is the same. You'll find this in a lot of businesses. So do you feel good about that or feel bad about that? On one hand, again, you're not alone, right? You are going through this with other people. Does that mean that we should feel kind of globally sad about it? I don't know. I don't think it's an opportunity for us to feel globally frustrated about the state of business. I think that it presents to us a greater opportunity for what we can be doing in L&D. And that's kind of the heart of the message today. So how do we bring back the feels? All right. How do we get those back? I'm not going to force you to answer this. If you have a great suggestion, by all means, pop that in the chat. But how do we get back the feels? How do we bring back the good vibes, the positive energy, the showing up to work, even if it's in your own house and you're wearing pajama pants or shorts? How do you show up to this space in front of a monitor and be excited about the things that you're doing? Here are three things that you can do. Three easy things. First, be curious. So as someone in L&D, I often tell people they should be continuously learning. In fact, it's kind of the motto for my vision of what L&D is going to be doing and evolving into at Scott Credit Union, a culture of continuous learning. But it starts with us. Be curious. How can you do things differently? What are other people doing out there? How are people learning right now? Here's something that sounds ridiculous, but if you pull up your phone, download TikTok, type in a subject that you are interested in, find out people are teaching it on TikTok. Study that stuff. Find out people are teaching about it on YouTube. Find out how people are doing it, because TikTok creators, they don't have budgets. I mean, there are people out there that do, but most of these people are like, I've learned more about Black history from a kid who is in college. He's getting his master's right now. I've learned more from that guy than I have, and he has zero budget. He's doing it from his bedroom with an earbud kind of in and talking to the mic like this. I've learned more from that guy than I have from books and other things, right? So find what people are doing that's actually connecting with people. Study that stuff. Be curious. Don't assume that the way things have always been done or the standards that have been set in the past, there's nothing written in stone. There are a few things that are sacred, but in the terms of L&D, there's very little in terms of your creativity and what you can do and what you can produce. There are very few things that are sacred. So get curious. Go study what people are doing that are connecting with people. How are people learning outside of work? Because believe me, if they're learning outside of work, their expectations for how they learn in work are probably more aligned to that than whatever the business is telling us it has to look like. It has to be on this PowerPoint slide. It has to look like this. It needs to come with a page that looks like this. Yeah, it takes work to change all of that, but get curious, figure it out, start making a business case. This is how people are learning today. Here are some statistics around it. All that stuff's available on the internet if you are curious enough to go find it. The second suggestion to get back to feels is to set your resentments on fire. Now, this sounds like it's the title of an Adele song, and it very well could be. And to be really transparent with you, this idea came directly from Oprah. Now, typically, I'm not going to be out sharing tons of ideas from Oprah. And so you can have a laugh about that. But this is where this came from. Set your resentments on fire. Because when I actually read the whole intent and meaning about it, I was like, okay, all right, you're right. I hold on to resentments. It's time for me to scribble it down on a piece of paper, light that piece of paper, and throw it out. The newest James Bond movie. I don't know how many of you saw that. I'm a long-term James Bond fan. They do that in one of the opening scenes to the film, right? They write down like a regret or something like that. They set it on fire. They have this little beautiful moment where you see all the people in the town doing it. I'm encouraging you to do that. Now, do you literally have to write something and set it on fire? I'm not encouraging you to burn your house down or your neighborhood. But it's the idea of thinking about those things that you hold on to. Who are those subject matter experts or those department leaders that have just pissed you off? Stop hanging on to the resentment. At some point, we need to realize that most people are showing up to work and they're trying to get things done, and they probably don't know a better way. And they're probably a butthole, for lack of better words. They're probably acting like that because they don't know a better way. They don't know how to be a better leader or a different leader other than these old traditional models that they're basing their leadership style on. They don't know better. So it's giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's giving people kind of a pass and saying, you know what, I can help them with that. It takes work. But again, if we go back to culture and my original definition, we're tilling soil, we're preparing the way. Culture is all about work. It's intentional. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but we can start to do it. So set those resentments on fire. It is hard to do. We naturally tend to want a little bit of revenge. It's that tendency that's in all of us where if someone has wronged us, we want justice. We want a little bit of retribution. And so it feels very counterproductive to try to then help that person be better. But that's my encouragement. Set fire to your resentments, let go of the past, give people kind of that chance to be better and grow and keep doing your thing. Because if you hold on to those resentments and they build up over time, you're probably going to get to the point where you are going to have to leave the business in order for you to feel better about things. And again, that's not the intent of today. I don't want to encourage a mass exodus. Some of you might be there, and that's fine too. But the encouragement today is not go look for a new job. That's not how you get back to feels. Set fire to resentments, and then try something that scares you. If you saw something on TikTok that you like, try it out. Find a small project that people aren't putting under a microscope. Find that thing that you could do where you could try out something creative. Personal story. We had zero e-learning, zero videos. Everything was in person. And instantly me coming in and suggesting, well, we need, you know, let's attack it like this. Here's my approach. Here's the solutions I want to give. People are like, can we just do it in a classroom? Can't we just, all right, that was the thing. So I started tackling little projects, little things that no one was really asking for, but like my department, we know that the business needed. And then we started slipping those things out. My team was scared because they never done that. They never made a video before. They never worked in storyline. They did not ever approach things like that. So for me, I'm training them on how to do all these little things. And we did it during the pandemic when we're all working remote. But we started to create some really cool stuff and drip it out into the business. And the business loved it, right? They loved it, but it scared people because it was different. It wasn't what they had been doing before. Try something that scares you. If you see something cool that you want to do, if you find out from a peer, oh, they tried this at their business, find an area where you can do that. Even if it scares you, even if you feel you don't know what you're doing, even if you don't think you're a creative person. We're not all creative at the same level, and that's fine. But don't let your fear of how creative you are or not are, sorry, if you're an English major, you can beat me up later. Don't let that fear stop you. If it scares you a little bit, I would just encourage you, try it. Find that small project and try it. Question, what video tool did you use? That's what I want to do. And yes, freaking out and trying it. So the video, yeah, so on, if I assume you're talking about LinkedIn, the video I made, I recorded that with my webcam inside of Camtasia. Camtasia is a pretty cost-effective tool for L&D. You can look it out. I don't get any credit or plugging points for doing that, but that's what I use. It's cheap and easy. I do video editing also in the Adobe suite, so in Adobe Premiere. So I'm working on a more polished video that I'm making for the business right now. I'll do that in something more polished, but for a lot of stuff that I do, it's super fast and super easy for me to do that inside of Camtasia. So that's what I do. But yeah, download a trial, play with it, let yourself be freaked out for a little bit, go online, watch a YouTube video on how to do it. Linnell, and I hate if I'm butchering your name, reach out to me and say, hey, do you have a minute? Could we jump on a call? Could you show me how you did that? I have no problem doing that. We should be sharing information with each other in this business. All right, so the big picture here. Let's get this whole grand idea of where we're really going with this. It's here, the big picture. Reactive versus proactive. I'm gonna take a quick drink. All right, reactive versus proactive. So what am I talking about? Work with a business to shift to proactive. A lot of us, and I get in this position all the time, where we're reacting to the business instead of looking forward. What does the business need? And when you're buried with projects and you're buried with requests, this might seem impossible. But what I'm asking you to do and suggesting that you do is that you start to work towards proactive. That in your conversations with business leaders, with other department leaders, with the subject matter experts, that you start talking about the things that you should be doing and not just this long list of things that they're asking for. So though, if we're talking about the big picture and you see the big picture, start making those suggestions, start putting that on the map. Like, hey, this is a project that we're going to do. I have it on my list. It's sometimes just changing the way you talk about it. It's not asking permission. It's saying, hey, this is a project we're doing. I really need some expertise. Are you the right person to partner with to get this done? So just sometimes in shifting the way you present it from asking to telling, right? You're the expert. You're the one that's in L&D, right? So make the suggestion, start to shift to proactive. It does take work. Again, it's not always simple. I don't want to make it sound like it's the simplest thing ever, but that is a great way to start. L&D, identified needs versus business requests. So take your identified needs to your business partner as requests. Again, kind of tied into that reactive versus proactive, but start having those conversations regularly. In fact, don't let people leave a meeting unless you're talking about the needs that you're identifying with the business and asking about, hey, I know these are our goals as an organization. Here are the 1 to 3 things that I think that we could be doing that will impact that. How can I get some support for that? How can I get help, right? set your learning strategy up for business success. So big thing is zooming out. It's easy to get lost in the weeds of all the things that you have to do. So zoom out, redefine what success looks like in a year to 5 years. So for a lot of people, start with a year. If you changed the culture, if you're able to make some changes within the business, if you're able to start doing things differently, what does success look like to you in a year? Write that down. Write that down, share it with your team. If you're a team leader, so if you lead L&D, get buy-in from those people that you lead. If you're on a team, start talking to your direct leader about it. If you're a L&D leader, start talking to the person that you report to about it. What does success look like for you in a year? Not just we come, we do the work day to day, but it's about casting a vision. What does success look like for us? If we are running at optimal speed, all pistons are firing, we're performing great, what does success look like for my L&D team? Write that down, make that a statement, and start sharing that with people. Fly your helicopter higher. Very good. Yes. Get up there and start seeing, okay, what does the world look like? How can I make it a better place? And then you can start working on the details, right? Does your current structure, process, and team support the vision? And when I say team, I'm not saying do the people on your team like support it, as in, yes, I believe in this, but do the individuals that you have, the team players, does that support it? Does the structure of your department, do the processes you use, are they aligned to what that successful vision looks like? If not, then those are other conversations that you need to start having. How can I change things? What processes can we change? You may not be able to hire and fire, but how can I train somebody to do something different? Do I have team members right now that I can upskill? Do I have team members that I have doing this, but they might actually be better at doing that? Can you start to shift things? What does that vision look like? Are your structures, your processes, and your team aligned to help support that? And then what are your business goals, purpose, and mission? Does your vision align and support that? So if we're casting this vision, right, if we're talking about what does success look like for my team, is that actually aligned to what the business is wanting to do? If there's misalignment, I don't know if you can change that big vision or that mission statement. So then think about, okay, do I need to readjust some of my expectations? What can success look like underneath this greater mission or purpose of the organization? Sometimes it's those hard self conversations that, hey, my wants, some of the things that I'm going after are really misaligned. Those aren't easy conversations. I've been there. I've had to do that. I have people in my life that will tell me that. My wife is very good at helping me see when I'm out of alignment with what I should be doing. So you may not have that, seek that out. If it's a peer, if it's a loved one, if it's a friend that you've had forever, seek out a good person that you can sound some of these things off and ask that question. Does what I'm wanting to do seem like it's aligned? And if not, can they give you some suggestions to help alignment? Or are you truly misaligned? Maybe it isn't the business that you should be in, and maybe you do need to look elsewhere. Those are the things that I would say. Those are big picture items. And that leads us to this concept of transformative change. Once we've started doing that, then we really got to do the work, right? We're going to transform things. We're going to change. We're going to make things happen. Transformative change comes, again, through a lot of work. So we want to, I'll share with you a bit of my story. I'll share a bit of what I've been doing over the last 2 years at Scott Credit Union. So I mentioned that sort of that vision thing. When I was, again, we're going back to March and April of 2020. I just started there. I was brought in to change things, and then everything changed. And so we're just running like crazy. But I still know that to get stuff done, I needed to really be clear about where I was going. And so they're like, hey, we want you to do a presentation. So I put together a presentation. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. And so this is my vision statement. And I'm just sharing it with you guys so you can see my process, see what I'm talking about. So I shared this. This is me on a Zoom call with all the executives, our C-suite. And this is what I said: the SEU training and development department is driving a culture of continuous learning. The team is focused on providing engaging learning experiences that result in increased employee performance, job satisfaction, and business growth. We are seen as trusted advisors. That word was key to me, by leaders throughout our organization as we bring value to them and help them solve problems. We value engagement, behavior change, and feedback to deliver measurable success. Again, I want to be measuring stuff. As a result of our efforts, new employees are making active contributions faster. People are prepared for change, and the SEU team thrive on knowledge sharing. This shift in how we approach training fosters cross-departmental relationships, provides a connection between job function and organizational goals, and enriches the culture of Scott Credit Union. So this is me sitting down. I'm with the leaders. This is what I share. This didn't come up overnight. This is a lot of thought about what does success look like in a year, in 2 years. Where do I want to be? Was this where I was when I was writing this? Absolutely not. Were we trusted advisors? Nope. People liked us, but we weren't trusted advisors. Were all of our learning experiences focused on being, engaging? Were they all directly connected to employee performance, job satisfaction, and business growth? Nope. A lot of things we were doing were just things that we've been asked to do or that had been done for a very long time. So these are very specific changes, but it really started for me with that first sentence. We are driving a culture of continuous learning. In my mind, and again, sneak peek into how I think, if people are continually learning, if the culture is aligned to constantly growing and developing themselves, then the business will be successful because people will be making better decisions. There will be more educated people using data, using all the things that I love to hear, and the business will grow and change in the right direction. So it started with that sentence, and then everything else kind of supports that. So I shared then the way forward. This is the way. If you're a Mandalorian fan, the way forward. Then to get this done, create a culture of continuous learning, we have to be learner focused, meaning that all of our experiences have to be focused on the experience of the learner. It can't just be a business request and we're like checking a box. If we're going to make something, if we're going to spend time designing something, it's going to be focused on that learner and considering their experience in the time that they're either in a seat, in a classroom, on a, plugged into a computer monitor. We need it on demand. We need to match how people learn at home. So people watch YouTube, and I asked our executives this: if your doorknob of your house is broken, what's your first move? And every single one of them answer they're going to go either Google it or watch a YouTube video and see if they can do it themselves. That is how people learn today. So why wouldn't our learning be similar to that? Why wouldn't we be providing that kind of experience for our employees? And the last step was holistic, meaning that we're considering the whole person, that we're considering mind, body, and spirit. And I know spirit, that seems very, fancy or, pie in the sky, but it's how do people feel, right? That emotional well-being. People feel safe. They feel cared for. Do they feel considered? Do they feel seen? There's a tremendous amount of value in people just feeling like you are seen, you are valued. Are we considering that as we design learning, as we design any programs? So these are all aspirational. These are all things that we weren't doing, we weren't offering. I'm still working through this as a leader. These are still things that I'm working on to make fully come to reality. But this was my kind of zoom out, big picture. This is what we want to do. So creating that sort of change takes a lot of time. Now, what I did is I leaned heavy on things that already existed. So within our business, we have something called the 3 E's. And so it's engagement, education, and experience. I didn't come up with that. That was there before Nate showed up. In fact, I came down to our training space. They have these massive, this same logo you're seeing on your screen. I have that up on the wall. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm leaning into what exists. I'm going to lean into the culture that is already there to get my cultural change kind of under the radar and sneak it in. So all 3 of those things worked really well. When it came time to picking a name for our learning platform, which Thrive is our LXP, but you can name it. We're calling it 3E University. I'm going to tie in directly to things that are already successful within the business. I'm going to tie into things where culture is already good and strong. I'm tying into where our business leaders are already pushing culture change. I'm tying directly into that pipeline so that all the effort and energy isn't just mine, it's coming from other people. And that has been successful for me. So when you go to our iteration of Thrive, it's 3E University. We try to be as creative as possible. And sometimes the creativity just comes in, how are you marketing yourself? How are you marketing your learning? Thrive gives us a great opportunity to do tons of marketing, to do tons of sort of internal promotion. We can use all sorts of creative things to make people want to take, or at least be enticed to look at the training courses that we have. And the reason is because I want people to be learning all the time. I want them to spend time in our learning platform. I don't want it just to be, this is mandatory, this is required, this is what you were told to do. I want people seeking out learning opportunities. I want people to grow and develop. So that was a lot. It's 10:58. Last question. I'm going to open up the chat. What are you going to do about it? We've shared a lot with you. I hope that in today, there's a few pieces of actionable feedback. I hope today that you feel encouraged, that you feel seen, that you know that you're not alone, that you know that there's other people. There is at least at one point 60 something people. There's more people registered. There'll be more people that watch this as a recording. So there's a couple hundred people at least that are right there with you. You're not alone. So what are you going to do about it? So I'd love to hear it in the chat, or see it, read it in the chat. What's an action item that you can take away from today? What is something actionable that you're going to walk away and do differently, or you're going to implement, or you're going to try? What's the scary thing maybe that you're going to go try? So, all right, let's see it in the chat. What is it that you're going to do differently today? What are you going to do about all this? Don't be scared to share. All right. Resentments on fire is good, but not with real fires, right? I'll get down with the kids and check out TikTok, reflect and build. Yeah. No real fires, Ben. My one turkey reference, I saw a TikTok with, I think it was the Daily Show, with all of the deep fried turkey fires. So there's the one turkey comment that I sort of promised in my intro video, if you saw that. Yeah, no real fire. Be more curious. Yeah, please be more curious. There's so many great resources out there. So many great resources. Reflect and review and try something that scares you. Yeah, great. Create a vision. See how to slowly implement it and create change. Yeah, good job, Jen. And if you want help, if you want to bounce ideas off, use your peers. And when I mean peers, I mean the people that are here, the people who are connected with LinkedIn. You now know me, at least. I don't mind, hey, Nate, do you have a minute to talk? Or hey, this is what I was thinking. How does that sound to you? Don't be scared to hit up other people that are in the industry. Oh, like reach out, connect with someone. Never stop learning. Yeah, don't stop learning. I know that when you're so busy creating learning, you don't feel like you get time to learn. Don't stop learning. Learn something new, learn a new way to do something. Whatever it is, find a way to use the word arousal in a meeting. Hey, more power to you, David. I was big on using the word intimacy for a while in meetings. And so it was a goal of mine to slip that in as many times as possible and sort of redefine it. If you've ever seen the movie Love Guru with Mike Myers, it's into me, I see. Anyway, it's a bad joke. But I started slipping it in, and now people use it and they feel weird about it, but it just got in their heads. So yeah, so you can do that with arousal. Good luck. All right. So thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate it. Just so you know, we partnered with Thrive. For me, a big part of my strategy was making sure that I had technology that could support it. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now without having resources. And I know that resources are tight for people. I know that for everyone who is looking for new ways to do stuff, that your budgets may not be big, but find resources you can afford. Find resources you can use. For me, Thrive was a massive part of my solution, a massive part of my pitch to be able to create social learning, to be able to engage people differently. So thank you guys. Thank you, Thrive, for bringing me along with you. Thank you guys, the participants, the attendees today, for joining, for engaging, for being here, for showing up. Don't stop learning. Don't be scared to engage with other people in the industry. You can always reach out to me and other people that are on this call, and absolutely don't be a butthole. Very good. Thank you guys. All right. It's 5 p.m. in the UK. It's late. So yeah, go home, see your family, spend time with your kids. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Yeah. All right. Cheers.